ma'am.
I'll let y'all put it down at this point.
Weather's getting better. Nothing showing up on the radar. Currently here, shows overcast. Nothing in the state to be concerned with. No concerns. All right, today we're going to talk about the helicopter that the Oxford Police Department Aviation Support Unit flies. We have two of them. Today we're going to talk about the MD Helicopters 530F model. You may recognize a helicopter like this from the Magnum PI TV show back in the day. This one's specially equipped for the police support mission that we fly around, not just for the city of Oxford, but for this entire region of part of Alabama. So we'll start at the nose. This is obviously the nose or the front of the helicopter. This is an air inlet to provide fresh air for the helicopter. This, a lot of people tend to think it might be like a gun or something like that, but this is it's a pitot tube that provides ram air for our instruments, like our indicated airspeed indicator, which tells us how fast we're flying through the air. Moving to this side of the helicopter, skids, common thing. Doors open. This helicopter is configured for the pilot on the left side and the tactical flight officer, or as we call it, the TFO, in the right seat. And we'll talk about what's inside the helicopter here in just a second. So this is the crew cabin. We'll start talking about, actually, speaker right here is for a public address system that we use. The tactical flight officer or the flight crew can talk about broadcast out. It's a speaker, really. Broadcast to the citizens that we're flying over that we're looking for a missing person or a suspect at large. We can ask for the citizens or civilians assistance with calling 911 if they see the person we're looking for. It's actually quite an effective tool for us. Moving back towards the helicopter, I say this is our moneymaker because this is our camera system. This one is made by Teledyne FLIR. There are other manufacturers for it, but this is the camera we use. It kind of looks like the Star Wars robots, but on the back you have three different cameras on board. You have a high definition color camera, you have an infrared camera, and a low light camera system, as well as different infrared lasers that we use for range detecting and geo-pointing. So the way this works is we have a hand controller that the TFO uses inside. We input an address that we receive from the police communications, and when they hit enter, this camera will turn and look at that spot. Geo-stabilized, and it's rock solid on the ground. I have experience using this same camera from flying at night 7,000 feet up and watching someone walking down the street and without missing a beat. Moving back here is the Traca Systems spotlight that we use on board the helicopter. Obviously, I'm only going to use it at night because it's a spotlight. It also has different filters on it, like an infrared filter that can be used with night vision goggles, either from the air crew, because we'll fly with night vision goggles sometimes, or our SWAT ESU officers, other units that have infrared goggles on. They can see the light shining as well. So, moving back, we have the crew back seat. Really, that's for extra passengers if we happen to fly with. We'll talk about that a little bit more. 2 different fuel cells, an auxiliary tank and a main fuel tank. Single turbine engine back here. Some helicopters used in law enforcement will have multiple engines. We only have one because this helicopter is very efficient and safe in flight. This is a great platform for our mission, which is patrol support. As we move back through the helicopter, tail section. This is the tail rotor. This provides counter torque to the main rotor system. So this helps keep us flying straight. Whereas that helicopter is really what gets us off the ground and flying forward. So this keeps us straight and in control. Back to, this is the exhaust for the single turbine engine that we were talking about earlier. More skids. In the back seat here, we actually do have it equipped where we could carry a rifle on board if we were so inclined for very specific missions. It's not a regular occurrence, but we have that capability to secure a long gun back there if we wanted to. Moving up to the pilot side of the helicopter. So in the pilot side, we have the same controls are on both sides. The helicopter can be flown from both sides of the helicopter, and we do train our tactical flight officers to be able to fly in a emergency situation. But the pilot in command of the helicopter flies on this side. We have the collective, the cyclic, and the pedals that any helicopter has. Some of the equipment that we fly with are personal protection equipment, or PPE. We all wear flame-resistant flight suits. We have a 2-piece flight suit that we use. It's to protect us in the event of a fire. Some of the other equipment we have, flame-resistant gloves that we wear, and then my flight helmet that we wear. The crew up front's required to wear a helmet like this. This is made by Gentex, helicopter-specific flight helmet. It's not a motorcycle helmet or a jet fighter helmet or anything. It's to provide us protection in the event of a hard landing or an accident in the helicopter. Dual visor, face mask, all for impact protection. And for consistent and safe operations, we always use checklists for our operation for flying before we start, before we take off, before we land, and as we land, we use a systematic checklist to make sure we're consistent in operating the helicopter safely and according to the manufacturer. So these doors, all 4 of the doors of the helicopter can come off if we want for comfort. The good thing about this specific helicopter is it has air conditioning, so we can stay cool year round and also protect us from the wind. Unlike our other helicopter, no air conditioning, but we can take the doors off and it just looks cooler as well. So we move these helicopters in and out of the hangar using the heliporter system. So that's a question we get quite a bit, is how do the helicopters get in and out of the hangar? We use these yellow lifts to hydraulically lift the helicopter and move it, and it can either be by 1 person or 2, and gets us in and out of the hangar safely.
Changing call signs to X-ray 1, 10 8 patrol flight.
Yeah, it needs to be facing backwards.
It needs to be facing backwards?
The opening backwards.
Yeah. Like this?
Yes, correct. So we currently wear a face mask on our flight helmets. I haven't always had to do that. I was flying for San Diego PD back in the day, last year. It's actually 2 or 3 years ago now. I had an incident at night while I was flying. I was the pilot of the helicopter. My partner, I had a tactical flight officer with me, and it was nighttime, so dark, over the city, and going about 85 knots, 85, 90 miles per hour, about 1,000 feet above the ground, and pretty much straight and level. Had a great view of the city and heard a huge thump. And it sounded like it was above and behind me. And first thing every pilot does is when we have an incident like this, we aviate. We continue flying the helicopter as much as we can with whatever controls we still have. So my first priority was to monitor the instruments and make sure they were operating properly, make sure that the aircraft was still flying safely, and try and figure out at that point how severe that noise was that was behind me, because up and behind me is the transmission, the rotor blades, the engine. Every part that I need to continue flying is right there. So, but at that same time, I heard the thump. The flight controls were fine. Everything was handling perfectly with the helicopter, except for I had felt something hit my shin on my flight suit, right in front of my foot, and I was feeling a breeze down there. And all of that wasn't making any sense to me. My partner at the time, he looked over, he was to my left. He looked over and saw blood streaming down the side of the helicopter, outside on the glass, and he immediately recognized that we had a bird strike. He said, "We had a bird strike, are you okay?" And I was fine. That really helped clarify a lot of things for me. So I confirmed that the helicopter and controls and everything responded appropriately, and at that point we were maybe 5 miles away from the airport. We ceased any kind of patrol flight at that point, and our priority was to maintain altitude and airspeed and get back to the airport, with being prepared for if anything gets worse or any kind of vibrations in the controls or anything gets worse, then we're going to land in a park or wherever we need to safely. We were able to continue on. We landed at the airport back at our hangar, and we had radioed our dispatcher as well as our partner that was still at the hangar, and they came out to meet us. They acknowledged that we had a bird strike, but they didn't know how severe it was, and neither did we, honestly, other than aircraft was flying fine. We had bird strikes in the past, but not to this extent. So as we landed, our chief pilot, who was our partner that day, he came out to give us fuel as he usually does, and he saw a seagull hanging out the front of the helicopter, still stuck in the plastic nose, and it was just feathers and blood and guts, and with a big, probably, 18 square inch hole in the front of the helicopter. There was also, in the back window, left rear window of the helicopter was shattered with more blood and guts. So once the helicopter was secured, we had to figure out how we had what looked like an entrance and an exit of a bird strike. And after a little bit of investigation, we learned that we had hit 2 seagulls at the exact same time, and probably the loud thump that I heard was the seagull hitting the left rear window and breaking that. Other than that, it significant, I don't know about significant, but pretty serious damage to the aircraft, which we couldn't fly that anymore. So we put up the backup helicopter, and we were back in service, except for that helicopter needed some repairs. Had that seagull been up another foot above where he impacted, it probably would have been into my face, which would have made me incapacitated and required my partner to continue flying however we needed to get me some medical attention. pedals are centered. Heater is closed. Rotor brake is stowed. Cockpit switches are set. Fuel shut off is in. Battery's on. Alright, generator is off. Start timer. Here we go. Oil pressure is good. Caution warning lights are out except for that, which is good. Engine idling, good. Pedals are centered. Needles are married up for rate a minute.
You just tell me when.
Roger that. Alright, complete air checks for flight of the day. Put the heater on for Horizon TOT. That is good. Anti-ice. Horizon TOT. Little bit. Cool. Heato heat. Horizon amp. Little bit. Good.
Alright, before takeoff, RPM 99% check.
Check.
Caution and warning lights out.
Out.
Instruments in green check.
Check.
Cabin secured. Mission equipment locked and stowed.
Secure over here.
Secure here. Controls check, response check.
Check's good.
Anti-ice as required.
Not required.
Alright, we're good.
Wind's pretty much out of there, out of the west. Pick up and we'll just head on out. I'll sidestep and kind of go out through the field like we usually do. Alright, everything is looking good on the gauges. Gonna go straight out over those power lines and go right over a pole. Oh.
Sounds good. Beautiful. Alright, we have no calls holding.
Alright.
Yeah, you wanna run a scenario?
Sure. let's go to, if nothing's going on, we'll practice scenario of, let's go to 6216 Shannon Brook. So first thing we usually do is put the address into the map. It automatically slews over to that. As a crew, we figure out that it's east of us, kind of over by Chocolate Park. So we just act like this would be a call for service, say someone that's a residence, someone's home, and for this scenario, someone's pounding on the back door. And if you hit the joystick, it should go right to it, I think.
Yeah, you're right. Oh, my camera's not doing what it's, okay, I guess it's on there. Okay.
Alright.
Alright, what was the call here?
Residents, mother and newborn child home alone. Someone's pounding on the back door, no one's supposed to be there.
And 4.
Going about, ground speed of about 99 miles per hour. About 600 feet above the ground. We can zoom in on the area, and the further out we might be able to catch a crime in progress. We can use the color camera or any of the infrared cameras, depending on whatever the environment calls for, I guess. While the TFO is trying to get a good image on of the target, I'm looking at the symbology on the display in order to make sure that we're going in the correct direction.
We're going to have a lot of tree coverage around.
Okay. I'm going to increase the altitude a little bit just to get us maybe a better angle as we arrive. About a half mile away, I'm going to start a left turn so we can enter a right-hand orbit.
So this is going to be a house right here. It's going to be the house on this side of the road towards us.
Okay, great.
So I've got the, coming up on the back side of the house right now. I can see the back door. No one's at the back door. Gonna have stairs going up. There's gonna be a separate door upstairs. Two vehicles in the driveway. The garage door is open. I have a gray Chevy Camaro inside the garage, silver Ford Explorer outside, and a silver or white Chevy Avalanche in the driveway as well.
Update for the scenario is the husband just came home, did a perimeter check of the house, hasn't seen anyone, but they're concerned about the trees behind the house.
Alright, so at this point, if they're concerned about trees, we're going to try to go to IR and see if we can't get any heat signatures out here. I'm not seeing any heat signatures that are standing out to me in the woods.
If you push down the one button, yeah, push this one straight in. Histogram. Go to another one, should be A-lap, do it again, should go to manual. Then you can adjust it.
There we go.
There you go. The auto will give you a decent one, but we can usually dial that in a little bit better.
Really slow. There we go.
There we go. Nice.
A lot better.
So the lady just called back and said that they saw, a family of raccoons or something running away, so they can clear from the call.
Alright.
The good thing about doing practice on these scenarios is there's no stress to do it here. right now. And when that hot call comes out on, when someone calls 911, we're going to be that much more squared away and it'd be a natural movement to dial in a good picture.
Alright, so right now we've got a violation of a protection order. It's going to be 50 Canvasback Drive.
Cool.
So we're going to go ahead in that way. It's saying a male is on scene. The caller is not on scene, but her 14-year-old daughter is. It's going to be 21 south. So start heading back towards 21 here.
Alright.
Back this way. 14-year-old daughter is at home. The male on scene, there's a protection order against, so we're going to head that way and provide overwatch. Correct, I'm sorry, yeah. 21 south. It's going to be back over here on this side of the airport.
Alright.
Check the CAD notes. So it says suspect is inside the house, unknown weapons. I'm going to let dispatch know we are on our way. X-ray 1, we're 1084 to Canvasback.
Any vehicle description we should be looking for?
I have nothing on the CAD notes.
Alright.
I'm familiar with this house and this call. If I remember correctly, I believe the suspect is in a Toyota car. And there's a Toyota. I think we have a white Toyota in the driveway.
Alright, I got it out the window.
I believe that's a Chrysler. I'm not exactly sure. It's just a white car.
We do have a copy of that protection order.
Alright, so this is the house. It was the wrong one. So we've got a X-ray 1. We're 1081. That's a Toyota car.
Alright.
X-ray 1, be advised, I'm familiar with this house. I believe the suspect drives a Toyota car. There's a black Toyota Prius in the driveway.
Careful.
723 copy. Break 735. This is 1097. We were 1042 a couple weeks ago, correct?
That's 10-4.
If you would just keep an eye on that Prius.
10-4. Alright, so the officer that is 1084 to this scene, we were out here a couple weeks ago. By the time we got on scene, the suspect has already left, so he's asking us to keep an eye on that vehicle because that's going to be the suspect vehicle. So if it leaves, we're going to follow it.
Okay. Let's see about getting the license plate on it.
Yeah, we'll try to.
Almost. Can you zoom in anymore?
That's all I got.
Alright.
We're not going to be able to get it.
Looks like really only one way into the neighborhood, huh?
There's two, but as far as these houses back here, correct.
Alright.
Yeah, if he tries to get out and leave the neighborhood, he's going to be heading back south on Canvasback, so we'll be able to pick him up pretty easily.
Okay.
Alright, so I believe we've got a unit in the area, so should have one arrive on scene pretty soon.
Alright. Yeah, I got him. Pretty much 1 o'clock out there.
Gotcha. Yep.
So, as the officer shows up, if this guy decides to run towards the backyard, it'll be southern direction, right?
Yes.
You can 1025, 1051, the vehicle's going to drive with.
Careful. 1047.
875
So at this point, our officer on the ground has made contact with the suspect. He's outside interviewing him now.
And the cover units arrived.
Do it now.
The cover units arrived.
Returns to Heat Nugent out of Oxford. Current restricted corrective lenses. Clear for 1018.
Okay,
Because it does show to have a protection order. It covers the children for 45 days from May the 1st. It doesn't show anything about the home.
okay. That's true.
Okay, so it appears the protection from abuse order. The residence was not named, according to dispatch. The residence was not named on the protection from abuse order, and the kids are only named for 45 days, and that has expired. So at this point, there's really not much more our officers can do. So the scene has been released, and we provided Overwatch to make sure that, because at the time we did not know that. So if this guy is to run or fight, we could be overhead to watch.
1023.
I'm familiar with this. This is going to be our victim here.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to keep a pretty good field of view, because I know the victim and the suspect are not on very good terms right now, so I just want to make sure the victim doesn't try to do anything.
Awesome.
Alright, our officers are now back in service.
Cool. That's pretty good practice right there,
Yeah,
too.
well, I seen them down there. I said, well, there's some cows. Let me use them to practice. We were talking about yesterday the manual gain and all that. This is really good practice for that.
Yeah. Compared to what the camera wants to give you automatically, they're just going to wash out that whole scene because it's not a whole lot for them to identify.
Yeah, sounds pretty good.
Yeah. That's a good image right there.
Yeah, that's really good. Get some fuel and
Have lunch.
yeah, I like that. I'm really glad I sent those cows and did that. It really puts into perspective how much better you can manipulate the camera to be.
Yes, definitely.
Check CAD one more time. No calls, we're good.
All right. Do the before landing check, please.
Alright, before landing, RPM 100% check.
Check.
Instruments in green check.
Check.
Cabin secured.
Secure.
Mission equipment stowed.
Code.
Landing light on.
It's on.
We'll let dispatch know.
All right.
X-ray 1, 10-6, Addison Airport, reference refuel.
100 feet.
Can't wait for you to get your license and fly me around.
Maybe one day. We'll see.
That'd be pretty cool.
I still got some time.
A little bit.
I've been a member of an aviation unit for just about 15 years now. I started my career with a flight crew with San Diego Police Department in 2008. Prior to that, I was a patrol officer. I loved hitting the streets, being on patrol, trying to chase down bad guys or helping the other officers chase them down, get in pursuits, all the high-speed stuff you see on TV all the time. I was fortunate to be picked up for the air support unit for San Diego Police, and I loved it. I started off as a tactical flight officer, and it still is one of the most mentally challenging jobs I've ever done. I did that for about 3 years solely as a tactical flight officer before they selected me to become a pilot. Those first few years in the air support unit, actually I missed the work of the patrol officer quite a bit. They're the backbone of any law enforcement agency. Every other job on those departments is to support them and back them up. The patrol officer really is the backbone. And when I went to air support, I was no longer doing any patrol work. Kind of hit my identity, I guess, as a law enforcement officer. I felt less of a cop because I wasn't down there chasing people around anymore. And as a TFO, you are really removed from the scene. You get to go to all the hot calls and the pursuits and chases and watching canines chase people down, but you feel like less of a cop. As a tactical flight officer, I was selected to do that first. Then they trained me to become a helicopter pilot, flying tactical missions, and then I still maintained my tactical flight officer skills. So I was, at that point, a dual role member of the flight crew. And here in Oxford, we fly with a 2-person crew as well. We have a helicopter pilot and then the tactical flight officer, or TFO. And it's the best seat in the house. It's the best job I've ever had. A lot of people think that flying the helicopter is it is a cool job. It's a fun job. It's challenging. But to me, really the best seat in the house is that of the tactical flight officer. Caps are secured, that door is locked. Quick walk around. Make sure we didn't lose or gain any parts. Good to go.
X-ray 1, 10-8, code 1.
Alright, let's take a before landing check, please.
Before landing, RPM 100% check.
Check.
Instruments in green check.
Sure.
Mission equipment stowed.
Stowed.
Landing light on.
That's on. All feeling pretty stable. Got the wires here.
100 feet.
Yeah, feel pretty good.
I like it.
Good. There's a big one.
There it was. We're a little bit heavier now.
A little bit heavier. That's before lunch.
Yeah. X-ray 1, code 2. Cool. Good flying.
Yeah. That was a good flight for sure. And you can turn your equipment off. Sweating my ass off.
Yeah, it's hot.